My name is Mona Kasra, and I was born and raised in Iran. I was born and raised around the revolution in Iran, and I grew up during the wartime, and I moved to the United States about 22, 23 years ago. I did my degree in visual communication and design in University of Arts in Tehran. And then when I came here, I worked on my MFA in digital arts. And then later I did my PhD at University of Texas in Dallas on arts and technology. I kind of worked my way to the East Coast, starting in Los Angeles and moving my way. So now I'm associate professor of digital media design at University of Virginia in Charlottesville.
How much do you want to share with us about your experience growing up in Iran?
It's very hectic and it was very eventful. But it also provided me with a very unique perspective that I feel like I don't think I'm defined by that, but I use that in my work. Like, for instance, my work has a lot to do with the impact of technology on creative expression, on, socio-political aspects of technology in our work, the way we communicate, and a lot of focus also on visual media, like the digital network images. So I use that. I can't be indifferent about the things that happen around us. So they come into my work often. Whether it's my kind of interdisciplinary research or whether it's like the artwork that I do. More and more recently, I've been very interested in working with, live performance practitioners and kind of creating very immersive and also heavily incorporating media design into that live performance experience. And I'm finding also that my interest, especially even within those types of works, is on the ones that are sensitive to what is happening culturally, what's happening in the world. And my work is about digital media, right? Like the use of digital media in art making. Some of the newer work, the research that we did was about this idea of misinformation through images and just really figuring out how people receive the images that accompany social media postings. And now with the world of AI and the advancement that happened this past year, that problem is kind of heightened even, right? Because in the past, so much of it had to do with how do you recognize something is fake? Can you see if it's photoshopped or, it was a very different world. And you could even perhaps find sources, maybe in the other archival material, but now with AI image making tools, you can't even really think about what the source is. I mean, and the impact of it sociopolitically is huge. In 2001, I was just in the US. That was the first few months. And I went to the SIGGRAPH in Los Angeles. And I was fascinated because especially around that time, the art gallery was really, really large. You had these digital artworks, I'm sure you remember, in hallways and everywhere. It was also a very exciting time when it came to computer graphics, interactive techniques, like making artworks with the interactive technologies. I was blown away. I'm like this young person coming to the US and going to this huge convention. It was incredible. And since then, I haven't missed any. So I actually started as a student volunteer the year after. It became a community. It became a community that grew. And the digital arts community it's big, but it's also a small community within SIGGRAPH. And, you build relationships, professional alliances, and you learn so much from each other. I try to be involved in programming, in subcommittees, and so on. And that led to chairing the art gallery in 2011, which was the first year that we were in Vancouver, which was super exciting for us. It was also very scary because we had no idea how it would be. And Peter Braccio was the chair that year. It was a really, really meaningful, great experience. I mean, it's a lot of work, as you know, even doing program chair at such a big conference with such big responsibilities. But just the interaction with other really brilliant people who want to make this convention incredibly useful for other people and meaningful for other people was just really fantastic. Just to kind of actually tie in your first question about how my identity maybe plays out in the work, the art gallery in 2011, the focus was on tracing home. And how technology reconfigures our relationship with ourselves to another, and also how it shapes the sense of identity, belonging, and place. The cover of Leonardo that year was a piece by Anya Belkina, which was this huge inflatable that looked like a big heart and was called Milestone. That was really great. There was another piece that worked with telematics that was done by Jack Stenner at University of Florida. That was really great because what they did, I think it was actually collaborative work. Also, Patrick Lemieux was part of that. But what they did was, while you were in the gallery and you were seeing the live feed from a house in Florida, and the performers at different times would go to that house and perform, and they would see the audience. So it was just a really great telematic work. So that year I got much more involved with like the conference planning and what it takes, and also working with many other team members, planners, and so on. I think for 2016 it was just the right time for me to chair it, because if you're in the middle of plans, work, life, this is a huge responsibility, and it's a huge commitment, right? So you have to really find the right time. You kind of are onboarded about 2 years before the conference, then you're also helping out a year after the conference finishes. We have a support system. It's not just the work of one person. The conference is done through hundreds of people who are just as committed. And I think the key has always been with these type of things, when there's such a high collaboration, is to recruit a very great team. And really I felt really fortunate to work with such incredible cohorts. They came from very different backgrounds, right? Some are very, very research focused, some are practitioners, some are artists. And we have really great contractors also that help us throughout this process. The planning, organization, the brainstorming, it's just not possible with one person. I think even in terms of envisioning your conference, so much of it has to do with the team that you put together. We bring all these incredible people from very interdisciplinary and also very disciplinary backgrounds, and they gather together, they exchange ideas, we learn from each other, and you see the results of it in the future conferences and also in the world. So I'm going to start with the theme or the tagline, because I think especially in the past decades, and I know we are kind of moving away from that a little bit, the taglines were so important. Like, that was the vision of the conference, and you kind of brought everybody around that and thought about how that particular tag and theme can work within all these programs. So the tagline for 2016 was "Render the Possibilities." And it was partly because I really like that focus on like where the technology and the potential of the technology to push us to the next thing, and how technology can also have positive contribution in the world that we live in. Are there abilities for us to use the technology to express ourselves and better communicate and also solve the world problems? So that's how Render the Possibilities came about. And it was a play on rendering graphics, describing the creation of an image, also the historical meaning of render, to create and to bring about. So we wanted to, I think one thing we came back to all the time was this idea of creating the possibilities of the future. For the keynote, we were very fortunate to have Negin Cox, who's the spacecraft operation engineer at NASA. And she came in and talked to us about the possibilities of, the future and space.
Today, we will gain insight into the story behind the missions that make great discoveries achievable. It's my great honor to introduce Z. Negin Cox.
Thank you to SIGGRAPH for the invitation. What we do in the space program, we can't do without you. And I have had the opportunity on other occasions when I spoke at Blizzard and had a great time with them, and for Spark and Visual Effects Summit, to really have a chance to talk about what we do together. This is a video from Landing Day, when the Mars rover Curiosity landed on Mars on August 5th of 2012. But I also want you to consider that everything that you're seeing was happening remotely on Mars. And so even our ability to show a video like this is not possible without what you do, without the animators, the artists, the visual effects. All of that helps us convey what we do. So we learn about other worlds. We use machines and computers to help us explain and explore other worlds. And what you do is, of course, help us see our own world in a different way. So it's a real honor to be here to tell some of these stories. Let's start with the video and see if you see yourself in the fact that we could even put something like this together.
We're standing by for guided start of guided entry. We are beginning to feel the atmosphere as we go in here. The vehicle is beginning to steer its way to the target. We have seen peak deceleration. It is starting its first bank reversal. It is reporting that we are seeing G's on the order of 11 to 12 Earth Gs. Bank reversal 2 is starting. We are now getting telemetry from Odyssey. We should have parachute deploy around Mach 1.7. The parachute is deployed. We are decelerating. Heat shield has separated. We're found the ground. We're down to 90 meters per second at an altitude of 6.5 kilometers and descending. Standing by for backshell separation. We are in powered flight. We're at altitude of 1 kilometer and descending. Standing by for sky crane. Sky crane has started.
Signal to us, you remain strong.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
Negin has worked on Mars rovers, and she kind of talked about the stories of the various NASA missions that she has been part of. She asked the attendees during the keynote to think about the universe and like the robotic explorations that are coming, and how like that's basically help the humankind's ability to accomplish through the use of technology and thinking about the universe. She just shared so many really great anecdotes and story about the Mars exploration rover team. She also has been part of the Galileo mission. I felt very honored that she accepted to be our keynote speaker, because that year I also really wanted to push forward make SIGGRAPH more diverse and bringing like, you know, a really stellar female speaker, also bring and think about the way we even do reviewing and jury processing, and you know, really making sure that there's women scholars and practitioners and artists are just part of all aspects of the conference. Negin just embodied all of that, and she was just really fantastic. You know, this push to bring people together and allow them to, from various angles, again, work together and learn from each other. So for the first time, we actually created the experience hall. You know, that experience hall where you go now and you have VR theater, you have art gallery and e-tech, and they're now all part of the same space where you have to be there to experience all the excitement and immerse yourself in all these new achievements. Was very new. So in 2016, that's how it kind of was created and allowed for a different way of engaging with SIGGRAPH. Like you can come in and just go to the experience hall. Around that time, VR was also like really booming, but it was much harder to access. VR was a big thing in the experience hall because you could come in and really explore these stories and the technologies. The experience hall also always homes the studio. In the studio there, the chair that year did this really cool project called Feuding Cities.
Imagine a city. It's your city. Now, imagine you can take it with you. You can see other people helping you build your city. The Feuding Cities is a physical and virtual game that is played out in both worlds. Each team will defend their city and attack the opposing city. You can create a building as tall as you like using high or low-tech methods, but the base can't be more than 6 by 6 inches. Once you've finished making it, the studio will take a 3D scan of your building that will end up in the virtual game. Now, to the attack. You can build guns there too. They also need to be 6 by 6 inches at the base, but you can add a long barrel or a big storage tank for ammunition. After you make a gun, you can put it anywhere you like, but it's got to be controlled by a remote or a smartphone. You score when you hit a target, and the targets are worth 5, 10, and 20 points.
Where the attendees built a digital city and built a physical city while they were at the conference. And at the end, it was the last day of the conference, there was a fight between these two and they demolished the cities. Like the physical city got totally demolished. And it was just such a fun event on that last day of, just like blowing up these buildings in the studio. Another thing in 16 that we did that now with, this is 7 years ago, and after COVID and the pandemic, it feels like we all are living in streaming. But then it was very novel. So we did some sessions, like streamed it to those who were on our YouTube channel, actually. So people who weren't even, registered or they were not at SIGGRAPH were able to watch some of our sessions, including, I believe, the keynote. It feels like, what? That's not very significant. But actually, it was really hard to make that happen in 16. And another unique thing I think about 2016, again, it's something that's now so incorporated in all our conferences. In 16, I actually crowdsourced a character design from artists and designers from SIGGRAPH community. It was called the Spirits of SIGGRAPH. So what we invited members of the community, artists, designers, to think about a character that embodies SIGGRAPH conferences. And that's how Shay the Pixel was born. So now you see the cutouts and toys and all of that. We were able to incorporate the character into the conference experiences in the convention centers. I see Shay the Pixel growing in future conferences, and it originated in 2016. I was on the conference advisory group for a little while. In 2019, I was an elected member to the executive committee. Right now, I'm chair-elect, actually, and next year I will be the chair. I'm really hoping to offer more to our members year-round. We have fantastic communities from education, DAC, and international resources, and so many others. And these members work continuously to provide content, to bring people together throughout the year. Thank you again for doing this. This is great.